All right, good afternoon. Welcome to session number 2 for today. Trying to insert some efficiency into our day.
Whoa. Yeah.
Well, now that all the hard work has been done.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Demota reminded me of what the peaceful transition of power looks like just moments ago, if there is in fact any power in the chair. I will call this regular meeting of Council of the Municipality of Jasper to order. It is 4:07 p.m. on September 27th. Councillors, you have today's proposed agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or other changes to be made to the agenda? If I might then, I will very briefly relinquish the chair to Deputy Mayor Demota so that I might make a motion that we add as agenda item 6.4 under new business, a motion to approve the raising of a flag of recognition for a week starting September 30th through October 6th to recognize the importance of Truth and Reconciliation Day on September 30th. Are there any other changes to be made to the agenda? Councillor Wilson?
I would think we would have to add maybe I get 6.5 discussion on any paid parking for the season.
Thank you for that. Any other changes? Councillor Keller-Happy?
Do we need to add the letter to Park Canada on just on accommodations decision?
Your Worship, just on that one, item 6.3 does have a space for that, so there's opportunity for council to discuss that. There's no attachment. Of course, there was an assumption council have some positions, so that's accounted for. The only one might be that council is making motions with respect to the activity center renovation and referring them to council, and so I think the intent was to give that direction to council that also almost some maybe 6.6. Sorry.
Thank you for that. Anything else? I think then, go ahead, Councillor Wilson.
I would make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, and that will be, just for clarity, the addition of 6.4, the approval of the raising of the flag, 6.5, paid parking, and 6.6, activity center renovations. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. The minutes of the regular meeting of September 6th have been circulated. Are there any errors, omissions, or corrections required to be made to those minutes? If not, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Councillor Waxer, thank you. All those in favor? There are none opposed, although I didn't see Councillor Wilson. He was not opposed. And I am unsure whether we actually had a motion to approve the minutes of the committee meeting of September 13th. I had added it to the agenda this morning, but I don't remember a vote on it.
Yeah, we.
Did we? Okay, thank you. So that is done. Takes us to agenda item 4, correspondence. Nothing to add to today's agenda. Agenda item 5, delegations. There are none. No one is here. But there may be people watching in Zoom land, and I thank them. We are now into hour 6.5. I appreciate anyone who has the fortitude to continue watching. Thank you. Agenda item 6 then, 6.1 has come to us after having been at Committee of the Whole on September 13th, I believe. There is a recommendation from committee to council. Any discussion with respect to that? And if not, is there a councillor prepared to make a motion? Councillor Waxman?
I'll make the motion that council approves posting the 2023 AJTNA conference and direct administration to include $6,000 in the 2023 proposed budget to be presented to council for approval.
Thank you for that motion. Is there any debate on the motion? Seeing nothing, I will call the question. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. Agenda item 6.2, Public Transportation Memorandum of Understanding. We dealt with that again, I guess, 2 weeks ago, September 13th, I think, at Committee of the Whole, and went through the details quite thoroughly. Mr. Gibbon.
Your worship, the copy of that MOU in front of council today reflects the changes that were made by committee, as well as the changes that administration has Parks Canada around some of the official stuff, the transition between monarch. So I believe it now reads His Majesty and the other levels of things. So this incorporates the changes that were requested by committee, as well as those other sort of required changes to the transition.
Thank you for that, Mr. Gibbon. Any further discussion with respect to the memorandum of understanding? I had one item, and I apologize, I hadn't picked this up earlier, but I will raise it now. 6.01F. I wonder whether there might be a change to say that Parks Canada will ensure that any lands used for the program are delivered free of contaminants, and the municipality shall ensure that any lands used are kept free of contaminants. The way it's worded, I worry that we could be assuming responsibility for existing contaminants, which would not have been our responsibility at all. So to say that they are free of contaminants means that we are saying now that they are free of contaminants, and we don't know, but we can certainly say we'll keep them free. We won't add anything, but I think parks should have an equal obligation to ensure that we get land that is free of contaminants, and we will then undertake to keep it that way. I see your hand, Councillor Melick. I just wondered whether Mr. Gibbon was preparing for a response, but if not, I will go to Councillor Melick.
Thank you, Your Worship. By making that change, that actually should move into Article 6.02, which would reflect the Parks Canada commitments. So it'll be not just a change to that item, but it would actually be removing it and putting it into 6.02.
Well,
Since 6.01 is our responsibilities.
and so our responsibility is to keep it free, and theirs is to give it to us free of contaminants. And I accept that. Yes, that's fair. With that slight change, is there a councillor prepared to make a motion that the MOU, that council approve the MOU, not as presented, but subject to that small change? Councillor Wilson. Any debate? I'll call the question. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That was carried. Agenda item 6.3, municipal position on private home accommodation. So we had a recommendation earlier today from committee. My understanding of that motion is that council would direct administration to provide to Parks Canada as council's position the items in the first box of the draft municipal position presented to council, that is principles of natural justice, plus the item dealing with grandfathering. I think it was the third box on the chart. Is there a councillor prepared to make the motion to that effect? Councillor Wilson, I saw first. Firstly, I will look to the recording secretary. Is that motion clear enough? I mean, I appreciate I was ad-libbing and I don't have access to the minutes from earlier today,
I
but
will put the title in the box
yes.
and listen to the recording.
And Mr. Gibbon, from administration's perspective, you understand the import of the motion?
Your worship, I do, and I think I would have gone the same direction as Emma. The council motion is provide the following principles, the principles related to public input and transparency of decision making and application of changes to existing PHAs as discussed at committee level.
Thank you for that. Councillor Wilson, we will accept that as your motion.
That is, thank you.
Any debate? All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. We have added agenda item 6.4. Again, I will briefly relinquish the chair to Deputy Mayor Demota and make a motion that council direct administration to raise a flag of recognition for the week commencing September 30th, 2022 to October 6th, 2022, in recognition of the significance of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does council have anything to add? Mr. Request? Mr. Reed, Director Reed.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Demota, through to your worship and all council. There's one administrative change I might offer, which is we don't know exactly how this will interplay with the events to happen on the 30th. And if I could ask for slightly more vague wording around the dates. So I believe you said commencing on the 30th. And I would rather it said, during the week of the 30th to the 6th, and then we can coordinate it with what appropriate action. It may be the next day that the flag goes up, and it may be the day before, but something along those lines where you aren't specifically telling me to put a flag up on this day, but put it up in recognition of the events that happen on the 30th and the week. Does that make sense?
It does. And even though you can't enter the debate and make motions, I will accept that as a friendly amendment. And I do appreciate it. I do. I understand what you're trying to do. And I will make the appropriate amendment to my motion to recognize that my request is that council approve the raising of a flag in recognition of the event sometime during the week to commence on or about September 30th.
Are there any specifics to this flag, where it came from, or what it entails? May I ask that question?
That is another aspect of the vagueness of the motion. We want, firstly, we have flag raising policy, which is precipitated this. So I think we have to honor the policy. But rather than identify the precise flag, because we're not sure whether it will be the Every Child Matters flag or a different flag, and it might be a particular flag that is involved in other ceremonies. So in discussion with our Director of Community Development, we wanted to ensure that we had authorized the raising of a flag for the appropriate recognition, subject to considerations that are still undetermined.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that clarification. Is everyone okay with the motion? All right, all in favor? That's carried.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demota. That takes us to agenda item 6.5, which is the item of paid parking. Earlier today at Committee of the Whole, we received a presentation from a local resident asking that we bring an early termination of paid parking for 2022. There was a motion, again, working from memory, not from notes, that the matter be determined at this meeting that we brought forward. I'm not sure that there was even a recommendation other than that council consider it in its decision-making function at this meeting. So it is open for discussion. And if someone would like to make a motion, then it could be open for debate. Councillor Mel.
I would like to make the motion that we continue to charge for parking through the end of the period, ending October 31st, as was planned. And if I may speak to that motion.
You may indeed.
Thank you. We entered into a budget discussion and debate with the idea of raising additional revenues. We asked for and received feedback from some of our partners who were supportive of our endeavor to add additional revenues to the community to help support us as we service a tourist center here. Consequently, in respect to those individuals who didn't have a chance to also debate this in a public forum, I would, that's why I'm suggesting we continue with the parking as opposed to the suggestion that was made to stop the parking. I think we have an opportunity to continue to raise the revenues that we need. And I'm hoping that the other individuals, other residents, other businesses will agree with that policy or with that suggestion that we'll continue with the parking, as we still have an opportunity for another 5 weeks to collect additional revenues.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Any other debate? Councillor Hall and then Deputy Mayor Demota.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. I agree with Councillor Melnick. This is a good thing for our community. I feel that we are in partnership with our residents to work on this program. Yes, it's new. There will be some kinks and bugs to work out, but we're bringing in money, which is what the whole point was. And I feel like most people know my position on free parking, and I'll say it again, it's subsidized storage for privately owned possessions. And I think that we need to continue this. We were going to October 31st, even this morning when the resident was here, the CEO Given went on the computer, and there's in the last few days, there's been many transactions, and people will still be here until the end of October. We have Dark Sky Festival coming up. I support Councillor Melnick's motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Deputy Mayor Demota.
Yeah, and you know what, I'm gonna support the motion too. But you know, I'm just wondering again, and I've brought this to a conversation before, and you know, I understand that there's a difference between the need for compliance and enforcement. And during the winter months, I've said several times that there's kind of like this relaxed approach to enforcement in the downtown core with 2-hour parking for that matter. And so on days where we might only be collecting a certain amount of money, there's a lot of open parking compared to other days where times are maxed out. You know, I use the reference to the store I work at. Like when we're busy and we're slammed, I'm not outside looking to see who's using the parking stalls in the parking lot that we're situated in. But when we're slow and all the parking spots are filled and people are using that as free parking to go walk around town and do such, you know, I start to focus my energies elsewhere. So, you know, conversely, when we're looking at available parking in the community, if there's a vehicle parked and they've paid and it's registered that they paid and they might be like a couple of minutes over, do we ticket them? Or do we give some grace here going, okay, well, there's 5-10 parking spots around here. Like there should be some discretion to, you know, we've heard some anecdotal evidence. We don't know to what extent exactly those things matter, but I think that, you know, the idea is compliance. So if we can still get another 2 hours out of that person, I'd rather them be leaving the community paying the $2 or $4 or whatever it is that they paid, as opposed to facing the $65 ticket. So that's all that, you know, I wanted to look at. So if we're still going to October, to the end of October, and there's a weekday where there might be 10% of our regular visitation in town, maybe it's not our priority. We'll focus on enforcement at that time. You know, that's as an ambassador to the community. I don't want to delve into, you know, into the weeds here, but, you know, as a governance representative, I think that would be a good approach to, you know, visitors from outside of Jasper.
Mr. Kittle?
Your worship, and yeah, that's appreciated, and council needs to have the confidence that we're delivering the services of the municipality in a way you feel confident about when you're speaking to, you know, residents, visitors, and businesses. From this morning, Director Nadal was able to get information from our department, from our team. That's for the season. Our team has issued 401 tickets. 308 of those were to visitors, 21 to locals. So that's 401 tickets for the entire season. And for context, in September to date, we had just under 15,000 parking sessions. So in 1 month, we've had just less than 1 month and one disruptive month. You know, about 15,000 parking sessions, and for the entire season, the team has only issued approximately 400 tickets. So I would suggest that that's probably indicative of a fairly light hand. And it's not 0 tickets, but it's also nothing like the amount of parking that we're seeing. So from my perspective as the CEO and the leader of the event team, I think that's pretty reasonable. The council would like to see something different or has a different sense, happy to take that direction. But you should know that so that when somebody says, well, they're out there handing out tickets left, right, center. Well, 400 in, you know, in this many months is actually not that much when you compare it to the volume of parking that's actually happening.
Thank you for letting me follow up, and that's good because I don't want bylaw to be painted with a negative picture. And I just to appease some of the information that was coming forward today, and again, an anecdotal story. You know, that was a one-off, and it's good to reassure the public that we're not out there doing that. So I'm satisfied with that feedback, and I appreciate the information that you.
Other debate from councillors? I will say that from my perspective, I might be inclined to defer the request. There is almost no circumstance, although there are some, where we would entertain a motion the same day that it's brought forward. We have procedural matters precisely for that reason, so that there is an opportunity for council to consider and receive feedback. So this matter came to us. And in the normal course of events, it would have come to committee of the whole, and we would have at least a week to consider and at least a week to get feedback from other people in the community, and that has all been denied. I would be inclined to defer the motion, even though in the end result, I'm inclined to support it. But I also recognize that we have a process that invites the public to engage with us before we make decisions, and that has not been possible in these circumstances. So if the motion was to be deferred, it could come back. It doesn't change anything at all with respect to the operational aspect, but it does recognize the principle that the public should have an opportunity to address us on matters that are before council. Councillor Malik, you had your hand up, or at least a finger.
Just for clarity, the legislative committee, and I follow the way you're going with this, Your Worship. The legislative committee had made a suggestion, and we made arrangements that we could do a notice of motion at this particular meeting, and it would be brought up at another regular meeting. So that would be in 2 weeks. So I think the process, instead of making the motion, it should have been a notice of motion to which we could discuss, and it would come back to the regular council meeting on October 11th. In the spirit of what you're saying, and also our recent change in policy.
Mr. Gibbon, go ahead.
Your worship, if I'm understanding the intent is, the council and the community have received notice, so there's information. Maybe it would be to table discussion of this item to the next regular council meeting. Notice of motion, and I just haven't looked at Emma. I believe our procedure bylaw says that a notice of motion should be provided in writing to the clerk in advance of the meeting that the notice is supposed to be discussed at. So it's notice of motion is just slightly different. I don't mean to be officious or but if the intent is to say, hey, we want to give a little bit of space for the community to provide any input, I think tabling or referring the matter to the next regular council meeting could accomplish the same thing. Notice the motion requires a written thing to the candidate ahead of the
Councillor Callahan.
Thank you for that suggestion, Mayor. I'm very conflicted on this, as the individual business this morning, had some valid points, but I like the idea. So hopefully, the chamber may send something out to their members saying, this comes from the council, and they will get some feedback and see what the majority of business in town wants. It would be interesting, even from our residents, whether we proceed or, do we leave our parking lots, paid parking and maybe downtown core with some of the disruption on Patricia Street with the utilities going down there as well. So there's a lot of things to be considered, and like the idea of being deferred.
Might the chair accept that as a motion to defer?
Yes.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that motion and speaking to it. I commend the presenter this morning. In particular, her lack of hesitation in indicating that she was speaking for herself and her business, recognizing that it is one voice. I think I saw a nod from the other presenter behind her. But regardless, it's a recognition that we have not heard from the community, and I think the community always deserves to be heard. So I would support a motion to defer Councillor Melnick's motion to the next regular meeting, which is only weekends. Any further debate on the motion to defer? All right, I will call the question on that motion. The motion to defer, all those in favor? There are none opposed, that is carried, so that motion is deferred and will come back before us a week from today. Oh, yes, that will be the first.
I made a mistake with my date.
This is an unusual meeting. All right, I think then that takes us to agenda item 6.6, the activity center recommendation from earlier today, and again, going from memory, which is now only hours old, but still shaky. I think that what we recommended as committee was for council to approve a change in the,
Your worship, can I help?
yes, you absolutely may. Thank you for recognizing I needed help.
I believe the motions were those contained in the report. The discussion was should this go to council or could it be the answer, but the motions I think were essentially what was contained in the report. That council direct administration continue the design process with a change in scope to 3 new arena dressing rooms, and that council endorse the design concept of non-gender change rooms in the Park Center. And it may actually have been the first of those. That was the only one because there was that discussion about this apply, which is true. And so, am I trying to help? I don't think you need a second one. I think it's just like we don't want to say about that 3 new changes.
That accords with my recollection. So the gender neutral change rooms in the aquatic center were accepted. That was just a direction. What was in issue was the change in scope to the arena. And so now I've gone on to another agenda, but if somebody has access to the old agenda, this morning's agenda, I can find it soon enough.
Your worship, the motion in the old agenda was direct administration, continue the design process with 3 new arena dressing rooms. That might not have been exactly how it was worded. I know that we haven't had a chance to do minutes from this morning yet, but that was the motion that was contained in the report. I think it was really that same intent, just going to the council, having the council.
Right. Do I have a councillor prepared to make a motion? The recommendation was the committee recommend council direct administration. And so now it would be the council motion to direct administration to continue the design process for the arena renovations with 3 new arena dressing rooms. Councillor Waxer, that will be your motion.
At once.
Thank you for that. Is there any debate? I will call the question. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. Which takes us to agenda item 7, notices of, I'm sorry, Councillor Demotta.
I think there was 2 components to that. And I'm not sure because the okay, never mind. Just because committee endorsed the design concept of the non-gender change rooms in the aquatic center, that's essentially approved.
We did that.
Okay, just want to make sure.
You did that.
Yeah.
All right, agenda item 7, then there are no notices of motion formally before us. So council reports, and as we adjourned the table discussion during our earlier agenda, this will include council reports and councillor comments with respect to upcoming meetings where they might seek advice. So in either of those events, are there reports from councillors? Councillor Keller-Granby.
I attended a Grand Cash on September 16th, the Community Futures meeting. It was an excellent meeting. And sad to say it was my last, because the next meeting for Community Futures will be the end of October, and I've got to serve 9 years on Community Futures. I cannot go back on, so I will be changed as the organization. So I'd like to thank Adam for having me on there for 9 years. I really enjoyed it. I don't know, but tomorrow. And I will be attending on October 17th in Edson and Everton's meeting. And next week I will be zooming in for council meeting. And I will be listening to committee of the whole on the 11th.
Thank you for that, Councillor Pellegrini. Deputy Mayor Demota.
Thank you. I'll be brief. While we were at, convention, it was brought to our attention that, several members, of the Alberta Municipalities will be attending the Alberta Recreation and Parks Association conference here in Jasper at the end of the month. So, even though, we are in a federal park, I'm not sure how much of the conversation applies to us or any of the sessions at this thing, and whether we want to send somebody from administration and or attend ourselves if any members want to attend. I think it might be worthwhile. I'm not sure if I can. But I believe the dates are a month from now, and that's the 27th to the 29th of October. And I just thought I'd bring that to attention in case we need to have a notice of motion for council representation there. I almost did it today, but with all things considered, I thought I would just bring it up there. And then maybe if it is a considerable thing to have on our upcoming events, just to have that as a placeholder going forward, just to keep it on the radar. Sorry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demota. Any other reports? Director Reed.
Thank you. This died. How's that? Thank you, Your Worship. Through the council, just further to the ARPA conference. Deputy Mayor Demota is correct. It is October 27th and 29th. I can and will send out an email showing you the link to the program. And there are some sessions that would certainly be of interest to councillors. It is, we are members of ARPA as a municipality, and you are eligible to attend if you should so desire. As far as staff attending, we are looking at the program, and if the program makes sense for certain staff, they will attend as part of their training methods. So thank you.
That's good news.
Thank you for that. Other reports? Councillor Melnick.
On Friday, the 16th of September, I attended a Zoom meeting for the quarterly Yellowhead Highway Association. Still looking to have Edmonton join the association. The mayor was presented with an award on behalf of the association prior to that, the mayor of Edmonton, which will assist in solidifying that organization and its financial base. As well, we also talked about what implications there may have been in the tabling of the parks plan, Jasper National Park plan, as it relates to transportation. Further to meetings coming up, we do have a Jasper Community Housing Corporation meeting on Thursday that we'll be attending, and also a museum emergency meeting on Wednesday night.
Thank you, Councillor Melnick. Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. On September 14th, seems like so long ago, I attended a library board meeting. It was our first one back after summer break. We were able to actually speak a lot about our municipal strat priorities, which was really cool. A lot about preparing for the upcoming budget and still having some staffing challenges, but overall it was a really good meeting. And on Monday the 3rd, I'll be attending via Zoom a Yellowhead Regional Library board meeting.
Thank you for that. If there are no other reports, I will separate mine into upcoming and past. Upcoming, I have a meeting scheduled tomorrow with our MLA, Martin Long. It deals with an update for him with respect to our initiative for status and revenue for our friends in Cameron and Jasper. It happens though that my meeting with our MLA conflicts with another meeting of the Jasper Partnership Initiative. And it seems that right now I don't have internet access, so I cannot confirm who is the alternative. Councillor Waxer, might you attend tomorrow at 2 o'clock with Mr. Given, I presume, for the Partnership Initiative? I thank you for that. Just out of interest, I have been invited to speak at the Alberta Forest Products Association Annual Convention at Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge tomorrow night. First time in several years, but that group has been coming to Jasper. I think this is the 80th anniversary. So nice of them to always think of Jasper and come here. So I've been invited to speak to them, and perhaps that signals that that function, which used to be a fairly large component of my fall time, is now going to come back again. And on Friday morning, I believe it is, Mr. Gibbon and I will have a Zoom style meeting with the CAOs and the mayors of Banff and Canmore and our consultants, again, related to positioning ourselves with respect to the provincial government and our quest for recognition and revenue. With respect to things that have happened recently, while most of you were away getting educated in Calgary with Alberta Municipalities, locally, Councillor Calharampi and I attended an event held by the Legion to honor Queen Elizabeth II, attended by perhaps 50 people, but those who attended were very happy to have attended, and it was a great ceremony. So I thank the Legion for that opportunity. And Friday of last week, I traveled down to Banff to present to the Federal Electoral Boundaries Commission. They heard 7 presentations. I was very glad to be there because I was a lone voice calling for a community of interest with the only other national park community in the entire country, Banff. And the recommendation or the proposal from the commission is to put Jasper and Banff in the same electoral district, but there was opposition principally on the basis that Banff and Canmore would be separated by a line on the map and would not have a common MP. But I left as an option, which I think the commission will consider, bringing Canmore into the fold as well as Banff, because we have so many interests in common. So we'll see how that plays out. And I did not have an opportunity to get to Canmore for the same session, and I don't know what other presentations might have been heard at 7 in the evening in Canmore, but I was very happy to have been able to present Jasper's case. And that is it for my reports. If there is nothing else, upcoming events, Truth and Reconciliation Day on September 30th, and I think now we have an indication that there will be a public gathering. I'm still not sure whether it's Commemoration Park or Robson Park. As Councillor Deputy Mayor Demota indicated this morning, stay tuned. But it will be one of those places at 1 p.m. But it sounds like things are still unfolding. Mr. Reed, it looked like you were about to enlighten us.
My information is that it is Commemoration Park. Very good.
the Jasper Folk Music Festival on October 1st. Chamber of Commerce General Meeting October 12th. NETNA October 19th at the Wicked Cup. Someone mentioned earlier the Crisis Team golf tournament. Is that back on for what date? The 2nd of October? We had teams in that. Have we still? Thank you. Organizational meeting, October 26th, following committee of the whole, and so I would invite councillors to let me know in advance their preferences for committee assignments. We've just heard from Councillor Kelleher-Happy that she has run out of runway on community futures. So there will have to be a new appointment there, but let me know in advance, if you would, where you would like to be appointed. And I will do what I can. And intergovernmental, October 27th. Is there anything else upcoming to bring to the attention of council? Councillor Demola, Deputy Mayor Demola.
Well, just in talking with people from Banff, they've got a contingency going to Colorado for that municipalities conference, and I was just wondering, we're doing a representation or.
Your worship, and Councillor Demola, yes, I'm going to be attending, given the journey we're on across Canada. When it's brought to my attention and actually referred to me by a couple of other people in the industry, I decided that I would go. I'm going to be joining the Banff contingent. Their director of planning invited me to catch up with them, so I'm hoping to catch up both with Banff specifically and the other planners there to see how mountain town planning might differ from general planning.
That's right. What are the dates on that?
It is coming up very quickly. I believe it is on the, I think it is on the 12th to 15th of October. So not next week. Very next week.
Thank you for that. Any other items to bring to the attention of council? Right, if not, agenda item 10. Councillor Melnick makes a motion to adjourn at 4:54 p.m. All those in favor? There are none opposed.
That's how you run a meeting.
We are adjourned. Thank you again to those members of the public, particularly for any who have been with us since 9:30 this morning. Thank you all, and that is it for today.